entertaining universe. I've talked about this topic before on this channel, and I realized this, that there's a few channels on that I like to watch on YouTube that are podcasts, video podcast related things. Now, I've said before that I think it would be cool to start my own podcast. Now, I know there's a lot of work and a lot of things that need to go into making a podcast. For example, you need the lighting, the set, the wardrobe, the guests, all that stuff. And there's probably so much more that goes into it than I possibly can know. The fact is, I'm not saying I'm going to start the podcast I've been trying to start for years and years now. But at some point, I do want to start, making a podcast of some sort. I don't know what we would discuss or what guests I could get on, or, getting all the equipment to make the podcast, whether it's the microphones, the lighting, the chairs, the headphones, all of that stuff. I don't know how to fully go about it. Now, I know I probably can watch those video podcasts and see how that whole thing works. And trust me when I say this, I've watched a lot of podcasts in my time. I've watched Not Too Deep. We've watched This Might Get Weird. I've watched Baocast. There's a new podcast that what was it? Zane and Heath Unfiltered. I mean, there's just so many podcasts out there that exist that I think would be fun to, learn from and start getting my own podcast together. Now, there's still a lot of process that I need to go through, like figuring out a name for it, finding a location for it, getting guests on the show, things of that nature, and getting, the whole set, whether it's the microphones, the headphones, the lighting, the set of sorts, whether it's, getting 2 or 3 chairs or getting a couch and a chair or things of that nature. I know there's still, there's a huge production that goes into making your own podcast, whether it's with a best friend, whether it's a solo person that just gets guests to appear on the show, even that could be considered a talk show. I don't know what the future has in store for that podcast, but I know that I want to start a podcast at some point. Whether it's just an audio podcast, it could be a video podcast, it could be an audio and video podcast. I still have a lot to process in order to make this podcast happen. And trust me when I say this, I do want to start a podcast. I just don't know the full details of what that podcast is going to be, or who's going to appear on it, or what's going to happen with that. I just know that I want to start one at some point between now and my 40th birthday. I know that's still, a little ways away. I mean, I've heard about Joe Rogan's podcast. I've heard about, just so many podcasts out there that exist, And that's okay that I haven't figured everything out. I still have a lot to process in order to make this, a reality. Because right now it's just a thought. It's been a thought for numerous years, and it'll probably take a couple more years before we can actually hit the road running, or get it underway. And I'm ready to see what this podcast could be, or should be, or will be in the future. And wherever it takes me, however long it takes me to make this podcast happen, I'm willing to do that, because that's what's important to me, is that this podcast happens at some point. And it could be a month from now, it could be a year from now, it could be 5 years from now. I really can't tell you when this podcast will start, what'll happen, what we'll talk about, things of that nature, what the name of the podcast is, getting all the equipment, getting all the guests, all that stuff. plays a major factor in making this the best podcast I could possibly make it. And I'm ready to start that, continue to make that progress happen. Now, I'm not asking you guys to help me make this. I'm not asking you to do anything. I have to figure that out for myself. I just know that at some point in the next, 8 years, I want to start a podcast. I want to talk about things that are important to me. I want to talk about things that are, important to other individuals out there. I want to have special guests on this podcast. I want to have, all the right equipment for this podcast. I just want to do this to the best of my ability. Unlike this channel where, I'm just, talking about random things and I'm repeating myself a bunch. We talk about a new topic every single podcast episode. And I want to do it for a long, long time. I want to have over 200 episodes. I want to have over 1,000 episodes. Even 1,500 episodes or 2,000 episodes. I just want to, make it the best podcast that I could can think of and make it happen. That's what this whole video is about. I'm not saying I'm going to start it anytime soon. I'm not going to, it's just an idea. It's just a thought of how to make it the best. That's what's important to me. It's about making, getting special guests like actors and actresses and YouTubers and models and TikTokers and all of that stuff on this podcast. Even close personal friends of mine on this podcast. It's gonna take a long time to get actually up and running. And that's what I wanted to say. So I know it sounds like, this podcast will never happen, but at some point it will happen. In the next 8 years, it will happen. I just have to find a location to film it. I have to get the right equipment. I have to get a comfortable couch or seats, and then figuring out guests and all that stuff. It takes more than just one day to figure this whole stuff out. It could take months. It could take years to figure it out. So that's all I'm trying to say, and I hope you understand. Now, with that being said, let's do birthdays, outro, and bye-bye. So we've got Alyssa Violet's 25th birthday. Happy birthday to her. Andy Case's birthday. Michael Mulder's birthday. And happy 35th birthday to Jenna Willis. Those are the 4 birthdays I have today on this 12th day of June 2021. And anyone else who has a birthday today, happy birthday to you. And I will see you tomorrow with the brand spanking new vlog. And ciao. Bye-bye.